Hey there, Chad here. Thanks for joining me. This is my updated complete beginner's guide to astronauts for build 14. I have a previous complete beginner's guide that dealt with builds 13, and about halfway through it went to 14. But honestly, a lot of things have changed in the game even since the first version of .14 came out. And I think there's enough here to start a new series for beginners. No Splattercat recently featured the game again, and that always gets it some attention, and the game definitely deserves attention. It is a fantastic game, but it does have a pretty steep learning curve, and I'm going to hopefully help you through some of that early on. Now, I am not a perfect player of the game. I play it so that I can enjoy the game, and my favorite part of things is salvaging and building out my ship. There's a lot of things you can do that I don't tend to dive into. I'm willing to try to expand my borders a little bit and see if we can do some things like travel to other stations in the system and things like that. And we have done that in our complete beginner's guide in the past, but it isn't really the focus. Really, the first 5 or 6 episodes is how do you play the silly game? And that's what we're going to start with. Now, I want to show, for new folks, I want to show a couple of things off. And one is there is a manual sitting right here on top of your start screen. And if you click that, this can be really, really intimidating to look through. That what Blue Bottle has done with the game is, this is fantastic if you ask me. This looks like a user's manual for a car or something, right? Or a ship or an old video game. And it kind of has these things that talks about the game. And they've done it in a way that both tells you how to do the stuff, but also it's so thematic with the theme and the genre of the game. It's just absolutely fantastic. And you can click through these and you can learn a lot from these. It doesn't really spell out some of the more complex things, and there are a lot of moving pieces in the game that it probably helps to encounter and see what they actually look like in practice. So I do recommend reading through this, but don't feel like you have to memorize everything out of it. It is very helpful, but we're going to cover a lot of this too. And I just absolutely love this. As a former student pilot, reading through spec manuals on airplanes and that, this is just so spot on with how a lot of that works. And I just really, really love it. You can go through here, learn a little bit about the navigation system. Admittedly, hands-on is probably your best bet, and be prepared to have to restart a couple of times because it's a steep learning curve. We have a little bit on the environmental control system, and these are all things that we will touch on as we move through the game. For this first episode, we're going to deal strictly with character generation. You do want to try to get your character right for how you want to play the game, and we'll go through some of that. Now, one of the downsides, I guess, is that the game has a very random character generator, and I love that myself. I think that is fantastic. That goes all the way back to those early wizardry games where, if you wanted 18 strength, you had to re-roll your character 150 times to finally get an 18 in the spot you wanted it. I really don't have a big problem with that. He does give you some control over the fleshing it out at the end, though, and I love that about it. So we're going to cover some of that. Just real quick before we move through the rest of the screens, I do want to point out something I do in this game because I think it makes it much easier for me to play. And that is I'm going to set up the controls a little differently. I've actually already done it. You're going to get to see my result here. I'm not really sure what eyedropper does, by the way. I was going to look that up. But let's go to the top here. So you have general camera controls like you would expect. There's WASD. There's a tooltip detail M that I always forget about, and I get frustrated and forget to turn it off. We'll get to that at some point. You can center your camera, things like that. But generally, where the important ones are that I like to change will be down this way a little bit, and that is right here, time controls. You will want to manipulate the time in the game quite a bit. The game goes in kind of binaries on its speed. It can be paused. It can be at a quarter second, half second, full second, 2 times, 4 times, 8 times, 16 times. And then there is an advanced one we'll talk about later, but you can't get there accidentally. I like to move this to my mouse so I can control it with my right hand. I'm moving the mouse around, and then I use my back and forward buttons on my mouse to increase and decrease the time scale. And I do it so that the decrease, which is probably more important in case you're about to do something stupid, is the natural one to go to. That's my back button. So mouse 3 button is my back button, and then mouse 4 is my forward button, and I use that to increase time. The other thing I add You can do multiple controls or keys for any particular thing. I have the back quote for inventory. You will go into inventory quite a lot. You will be in inventory a whole bunch. And I don't like having to reach across my keyboard to get to inventory. If I had another button that I could reliably use on my mouse, I'd probably use that. I guess I could use like middle click or something. I don't tend to be good at that button though. But you could set it something like that. But I like the back quote, which is the key above tab and left of 1. And so I'll use that for my inventory control, and I can just open it or close it. And then, of course, escape being right above it closes a lot of things for you also, and that's really helpful. There are a few others that I change over time when I finally kind of get into those parts of the game, like cycling crew and things like that. We won't worry about that quite so much. I think the keyboard layout is reasonable to start with, but you do find yourself in inventory a lot, and just taking your left hand, for most of us, taking your left hand off the keyboard to find that I key just takes enough more time that I don't like to deal with. So that, I guess you could say, that's my quick tip for getting started. Let's go ahead and get into character generation, and that is what we'll do for the rest of this episode, and we'll talk about some of the things that are a little bit different. First of all, you're going to want to go to new to create a new game, and don't do what I did the first time I played. I sat at this screen for like 3 minutes going, come on, when's it going to play? This is a static screen you have to click on to advance through. It gives you a little bit of information on recent updates and things like that. And of course, the first time you play it, you don't know that that's what it is, right? So those of you who've been through it, you know, but if you are just now picking up the game and like, what do I do? Don't let that discourage you. We're going to click here, and that puts us into the build. It's starting to build out my universe. It's a different universe every time. There'll be different ships in different places, but it is our solar system. So you know, hard factual things tend to be where they're supposed to be. And we finally get to the character generator, and there's some new options on it in the latest parts of build 14. So we're just going to start there, and we can do a randomize. What I like to do is I'll play a male, and I will play a straight male. So he will flirt with she's and hers and things like that. You can change this later if you choose. I can do randomize from here, and it will hold on to those pronouns, and it will tend to make masculine looking characters for me. And I kind of like the look of that guy, actually. I'm going to go with him. I do usually not include glasses. He's got some scars. I don't love his eyes. Usually use like number 8, I think. Yeah. And then I'm going to change his hair a little bit. So maybe I didn't love him as much as I thought I did, but most of him was right. And I like to use this one right here because that is totally me minus the scars. And that's not even remotely true. But we will go with that, and I think blue eyes are number 7 or so. I think that's blue. For those of you that are new to my channel, I am a little colorblind. I have some trouble with shades of things. I can see colors. I'm not black and white colorblind, but you will find me saying, oh, click on the yellow button and it's actually green, or things like that. It's just the way I'm built. I hope it isn't too disruptive, and if you ever have questions, that's what the comments are for. I'm going to name my character Chad, Missouri. Now, my YouTube channel is Mo Chad, and that's how I say it. I say Mo Chad when I tell people about it. But it's because I'm from Missouri, and my name is Chad, and it works for me. I think in the previous versions, I've used different names, and I've just decided to start going with this one because it's easy and nondescript, yet descript, and it identifies me. So that's what we're going to do here. And now we're going to hit done, and now we get to the fun parts. So if you've ever played role-playing games where you roll up a character, that's what we get to do next. And I did have an interview with the creator of Ostranauts, Dan Fedor, and I'm probably mispronouncing his name. Sorry, Dan. The impetus for the character generation, I asked him outright, and he answered me outright. Absolutely, the Traveler series of RPGs. In Traveler, it was a badge of honor to get your character killed before you actually finished character creation. Yes, you could literally die rolling up your character. Well, I mean, not you, but your character could die before you finished rolling them up. And it was a blast. I mean, it was fun. Again, it was a badge of honor when it finally happened. It's like bicyclists getting speeding tickets on roads. You know, you actually are kind of hoping it might happen to you one time. Maybe not more than once, but once. That is how the game is kind of started, and it's randomized. And Traveler, newer versions of Traveler, you can't really die, but you can end up with crippling debt or diseases that will shorten your lifespan, things like that. It's not it doesn't kill you anymore like it did in earlier versions of it, and this won't kill you either, but you will end up with traits in that you don't want, and you also have the opportunity to gain traits that you do want, and we do have some control over it. So I don't tend to read every line of these like I might in a Let's Play. You're more than welcome to read these, and you can take a look. But basically, we're around an asteroid that is a 33 kilometer, let's see, born and raised as you were in the weak microgravity of a 33 kilometer asteroid. So I'm going to assume that's a diameter. We're on a very small asteroid. Insomnia is catching up with you. It's chronic around here, something likely caused by radiation, and et cetera, et cetera. You're welcome to read through here. Ultimately, the start screen, these are our parents. This is our father. This is Jacob Spence, and our mother is Na Sophia Spence. And you start off with next to no money. We literally have nothing. We have $96, and we're in a world where we're talking about millions, certainly hundreds of thousands to buy a ship. So we'll see some of that before we're done with this episode. We start at the age of 18. We always start in the same location at this point. There was talk of them bringing back the variable locations, but at one point they decided that was kind of you fleshing out one area to be kind of realistic for the player's mindset was difficult enough, and trying to do multiples of those was something they felt they needed to back burner for a while. And I kind of appreciate that. I sort of get it. It also gives us the opportunity to start in the same place. We cannot hit submit just yet. It's going to say we're not finished. There's a couple of reasons for that. And one is we don't have a ship yet. We're going to have to get one. So after you read through this, you can go ahead and click OK. And this is where the character generation starts. We have 5 options here. Technically, we have 4, as this one just tells us where we stand right now. And if we click on it, we can see our age. It's basically our resume. I mean, so that's what it calls it, right? We are youthful. We're fragile. We're going to want to get rid of that one if we can. Skilled in spaceship engineering. That sounds incredible, right? But it turns out it's just one of several skills you need to be really talented in the game. So my character creation is going to focus on the character I want in order to play the game at the pace I want to play it. Your mileage may vary. You're welcome to hit OK and jump in here and seek a ship and take the first ship you're given and go. And that is perfectly fine. That is a completely unrolled character, and there's nothing wrong with that, except it's extremely hard to play that way. You may find time catching up with you in a manner that you're not excited about. So I'm going to try to play it in a way that I can build out a character I like. If I don't land with what I really feel like I need, I probably will off-screen re-roll my character and start the next episode at that point, because these are random. We don't have a huge amount of control. So what I like to do, you do want to stay relatively young. In fact, I think they call middle age like 28 or so in the game. So something to consider. I try to stay under the age of 30 with my role, with my character role in generation. We'll see if that happens. But Seek Adventure gives you random events, and that's what I'm going to do first. Boom. First random event is a good one to get. When it's all said and done, shipbreaking and scavenging is a hustle, and hustling is a grind. What was once dangerous eventually becomes monotonous. How do I deal with the boredom? So in my case, I'm going to choose suit maintenance, because suit maintenance gives me specific traits that I'm going to want, and skills and attributes. There's really 3 different pieces here. I want I guess it's the skill of EVA suits. And so I clicked it, and it gives you a nice, great backstory line. Once you've done this a few times, you'll learn what the story parts are about. But it's basically, I got really good at checking suits and making sure they were properly functional and things like that. And here's what that affected. So this was my biological father and mother. This line is our first adventure, and we're still a shipbreaker. We have skills and attributes of shipbreaker. We're skilled in physics, and we're skilled in EVA suits. That's what I want. This means I will be more effective when I'm wearing an EVA suit, and I really like that. I'm also patient, and I'm finicky. Okay, well, it is what it is. Let's hit OK, and we're going to do that again. I like to do this for 3 or 4 to get a few kind of randomish skills, and then we'll flesh it out by going to work on self, which allows us to kind of customize some of those attributes and skills. So first, Seek Adventure again. All right, it's a shady deal. We are approached by a coworker who has developed a less than legal method for making cash on the side. It's a big take if you can pull it off, but there are risks. What do I do? In this case, I'm going to instigate violence. First of all, I get a little bit of cash for that, 900 bucks. And secondly, I gain skill in armed and unarmed melee, but I also have a strained back now. So this is a downside, right? That's a, what do we call that? It'll come to me later. Can't think of the word right now, but malice. It's a malice. So we're going to hit OK, and we're going to do this one more time. We are now 20. This will make us 21. Okay. Rare salvage. She's a real beauty. The Testudo Heavy Lifter 448, and it's with a confusing mix of honor and dismay that you're contracted to take her apart. It looks like we make some decisions, and since it's popular on the market, instead of doing that, we're going to smuggle it through the black market. And I do this because my character will then have a contact in the black market that we can use right off the bat. You can earn that through social interactions in the game, and that is a fun way to go. It takes a little bit of time, not hours. It takes, 20 minutes to get it to the point that this is working for you, and you have to come back to it a couple of times to get it to work. But this is kind of a shortcut to that, and I love that one. We're going to take that, and I'm going to try one more Seek Adventure. There's one I really like to get, and this is it. I got really super lucky. I got effectively the 4 I really wanted to see. So Occupational Hazard, midway through scrapping, a cockpit of an logic salvage pod lights up with red telltale. Suddenly you're under thrust as one of the engines sends you spiraling away from the Hulk's orbit into the black. So something malfunctioned. What do we do? Well, I'm going to hack the engine. These are all reasonably good skills to pick up that it will give you. I like hack engine because it also gives me the attribute genius. And this seems to help with learning things. It speeds up your learning process. So if you can get genius, try to grab that. Also, hacking is important because one way to make money is hacking PDAs. And if you don't have the hacking skill, you can't do it. So that's another good reason to grab that. Okay, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with this at this point. And so I think at the age of 22, what I'm going to do is go and figure out what coursework I do is kind of the way I look at it. So we're going to say work on self. Now, I believe this is new, and I really, really love this. We have the ability to add additional skills or hobbies, and the hobbies can lead to specific things that help with skills and traits and things. And we have traits, and is there one more category? There is not. Okay, so traits are the big one. That's things that are about you. And what you'll notice is some of these have like this white box next to it, and some have a dark box next to it. And what this is when something has a white box, the number of boxes is how many years it takes for you to get that. If there is a lock in the box, it means that its opposite is currently in effect. And in that case, it's unfit. We are currently flagged as unfit. We do not have fitness. And that gave us 3 years off of our training so far. So if we were to uncheck this, we're going to go up to age 25 is what would happen, basically. As you can see, Genius, we did, it took us 1 year to get that with the hacking engine, but it normally would have taken us 3 years to get it if we wanted it. And so I already have it. There's nothing I can do about it. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. If I untake it, it'll subtract 3 years off of my age when we're done here. And that's kind of awesome. But I mean, it's a 3-for-1, right? I spent 1 year and I got 3 years worth of work. I'm keeping that. So ultimately, you can take things with boxes and it gives you years back. I like taking Shy. I'll get 3 years back there. Light sleeper or heavy sleeper, neither of those is really a huge thing. And you'll notice also, there's no middle ground here. If you don't have either of them, then you're not really affected by either, is what it really comes down to. So let's look through here and see what we have. We're finicky, and that gave us a couple of years. Okay, well, you want to be as young as you can be, really, and so that's kind of important. Repulsive, charismatic, humorless, clumsy or coordinated. Wrong box there, Chad. Okay, you're more physically coordinated than most. I think that might affect like combat and things like that, but I've already got some good skills in combat. So just kind of flipping through the rest of this, I think I want to go up to the skills. Skills are very important. You'll notice all the skills cost. You obviously don't get anything back for not having them, I don't think. Oh, I guess you can get skills back. Well, that's interesting. Okay, that's kind of new for me. Again, I don't recall there being a subtraction of years with this in the past. I'm going to go ahead and undo unarmed melee. I've got armed melee, and I intend to be armed when I need to be. So hopefully that helps. I guess this would help with like subduing somebody, tackling them, and things like that. I'll take the 2 years though. That's going to be super helpful. You want to have a couple of the engineering skills, and I include construction in that. And the reason is, as you're doing your jobs on your ship, it takes real time for things to happen. You can speed up time to 16 times, but a job of like repairing the floor on your ship is going to take a set amount of time. And then even fast forwarding the time, it still takes time for that to happen. And you can spend a lot of time in the game doing things like just cleaning your ship. Having things like construction, spaceship engineering, which we start with, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, these can all be huge, huge benefits because it helps you with the amount of time it takes to complete things. So there's a multiplier. If I want to repair a thruster, there's a multiplier of how long it takes to do that. And the more skills I have that apply to that particular action that I'm doing, the higher that multiplier can go. There are other things that affect it, like the tools you're using can be very helpful. I would assume there are probably mechanics in there for other things to affect it as well, like if you're drunk or something like that. But these are surefire ways to shorten that piece of the game. A case in point, I once just made a vanilla character and went with it, and it took me like real time at 16 times speed. It took me like 25 minutes to get my ship completely repaired, which used to be the very first thing I would do. And I mean, that's a lot of time to be spending at 16 times. That's eight hours of game time that passed for me to clean my ship. That's impactful. Having a few of these, don't have to have all of them, but take a few of them, and that will help quite a bit. I like to also take, let's see, there's one. Oh, I want to come down here and get rid of feeble, which is going to be a trait, right? Do I still have that in here? Did I pass it? I get talking and I float through these and I miss things like that. So maybe we're not able to affect that one directly. It's not a skill. It's not a hobby. It's a trait. There's finicky. We're currently finicky. There's fit and unfit. Okay, we're going to go ahead and stick with unfit. We took shy. I probably would get rid of immunosuppressed. That just kind of helps a little bit. There's been kind of a back and forth on that one. This, I think, having it is helpful to you because taking it away gives you more time back. So I would hang on to this one. The other ones that are kind of important, they really just affect your interactions with folks, like selfless or selfish. I'm not seeing feeble. There it is. It's next to strong. Okay. So if I drop feeble, I'm going to add 2 years to my build time. So right now my net is I'm going to be plus 1 year, which is going to put me at 23. And I really want to, I do not know how these impact us as hobbies. There are a few that make some sense. There will be some things that happen and all of a sudden they'll say, oh, you're training in cooking or something like that. But I'm not quite sure how it really interacts directly. I think I'm going to take electrical engineering. I feel like that one is, mechanical engineering is the other one that's kind of a big deal. Maybe I'll do that one. We'll do that one first. So I'm going to take mechanical engineering. I'm going to be adding 4 years to my character's life. How old he is, that is. And then I'm going to hit apply and we will add 4 years. He'll become 26. And I think we're in prime time to go ahead and start working on getting a ship. So real quick, looking at our resume, here are the traits that I have right now. So far, this is like a perfect build out for me for a character. I'm loving this guy. Skills we have taken. He's skilled in 0G ops. I think you get that pretty much no matter what. He's skilled in EVA suits. That's important. He has construction. He has mechanical engineering. He's a hacker. Has armed combat ability. These are all great. We can read through our bio if we wish. And it tells us a lot about us. And it even itemizes each of those adventures that we had and what really happened with them in story form. And that's a lot of fun. But there we go. We are now down to the okay. And now You can do save some money, and I can't quite remember how much money that gives you. Now, there's a reason we want to get to $5,000, and we'll talk about that in the next couple of episodes. I, in the past, had done a build where all I did is I built until I got to $5,000, and that was it. There are ways around that, and I didn't cover that in the past. And we're going to do that this time. It'll probably be part of the next episode. So at this point, even though I really would prefer to have a heck of a lot more money, we're going to go with seek ship. And this is kind of the end game of the character creation. Once you start seeking a ship, once you get a ship, your only option is to continue with the submit. So we're going to hit seek ship, and it'll show us what we have available to us right off the bat. All right, this first model is the Rikoya TU-76. If we take that, we will owe $800,000 in mortgage, which is 2,000 credits and then some, so 2,200 credits per shift, and there are 4 shifts a day. I think it's 4 shifts per day, 6 hours per shift. That is a lot of money we're going to be putting out, but if we're being honest, that's about normal. I'm going to go ahead and say no for now. I'm going to go ahead and go with another year and hope to get a better option. There is one particular ship that I will take anytime it comes up, and that is the Dream. So if you're following with this and you get the Dream, that's probably a great ship to take. It's got a lot of space, and it's easy to build out in so many ways. Now, I am not going to go age past 2 more years with looking for a Dream if I don't have to. Also, there are a couple of ships that just aren't worth taking off the bat, particularly for your first time through. Okay, this one isn't so bad. This is the Dream, right? Is that a Dream? No, it is not a Dream. It's a custom box sled. So maybe we'll skip that one right now too. Here's our control panel, basically. That's the nav system, and here's the airlock. There's not a lot of space on this one. So we're going to say continue career, and we'll probably end up taking the next 1 or 2 as long as they aren't coffins. There is one called the Coffin, and that's the one you want to avoid. This is the Dream. I am going to take the Dream. So the Dream is easy to manipulate around. You can sell these seats right away because you're not going to need them, and you're going to want the cargo space. Fantastic starter ship. Best one you can get. You'll notice it's a little more expensive than the other ones we've seen so far. There is a reason for that, but we can make a lot of money with this ship. So we're going to go with this. I'm going to hit take ship. That puts us into the final portions of character creation. We're almost done here, folks. Now that we're on our own terms, it's our next move is up to us. Maybe score a valuable part or 2 for resale or reuse. Yep, that's what we're going to do. We're going to be doing some salvaging. Pull down a platinum tier payout on a gig. We will learn about those. Or maybe even discover a ship discarded before its time. And that happens too. And in the long run, that's the goal. We want to find other ships that we can fix up and sell. We're a ship flipper is what we're going to be. So I'm going to hit OK. And we get to itemize the entire storyline. We can read through it, our entire career on where we are and what we land with. And as you can see, our ship is designated the O-ZJXEX. The Testudo Dream. It is the type. I don't see what the name of the ship is here. We have the opportunity to change the name of our ship, and we will do that. And then we're going to hit submit, and this puts us in our room on the station. And this is where we're going to end this episode. So this is the restart of my complete beginner's guide for Ostranauts. I am Chad, or Mo Chad, and I really do appreciate your time. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I hope you will consider doing that. It will really help me out. But I'm just glad you're here to begin with, and I hope you enjoy learning more about Ostranauts, which is a fantastic game from Blue Bottle Games. Until next time, thank you for yours, and fair travels.